I will skip through a couple of pages here. So basically, I'm a third generation miner. My grandfather worked for Rio Tinto for over 20 years. My father worked for Rio Tinto for over 20 years. And that's where I got started in Australia. So I spent around 6 years with Rio in Australia. I then moved over to BHP, spent a few years with them, then moved over to Santos Oil and Gas. So a bit over 10 years of the major, sort of learning, a lot of on the ground type of work. I was actually in more of an operations sort of role. I took what I learned from the majors and obviously took over Opawica in 2020. Since 2020, we basically got straight to work. We went out and we raised over $5 million. $2 million of that came from Eric Sprott, who's one of the biggest gold investors in the world. And we got guys like that involved, and they came in at around that 40-cent range. Now, what we did with that funds, we basically went to work. So over the last 4 or 5 years, we've worked all three of our properties. Now, I'll start on the Bazooka property. The Bazooka property is in the town of Ronderanda. It's in the Abitibi Greenstone Belt. It's in one of the most prolific gold-bearing regions on Earth. Not only that, the Bazooka property has 2 active mines right next to it. You've got the Wasamac property right contiguous to the north, and then obviously down to the east, you've got Agnico Eagle. This property has road, electric power, and water to the property. Now, the reason I mention that is that keeps costs quite low for us. So we actually have a town in the town of Ronderanda here, which is a 5-bedroom home. So basically, we set up camp in the town. The guys can then drive to work, which is only around 10, 15-minute drive, do their shift and get home to their families. Now, this keeps costs very low for us. We don't have to build camps. Everyone is well happy because obviously they get to go home to their families every night. And, it keeps our drilling programs and exploration costs quite low. Now, what we've done on this property is quite remarkable. We've done downhole geophysics. We've done airborne geophysics. We've done an IP. We've walked the ground. We've done mapping. We've done 2D surveys. We've done 3D mapping. We also have got involved with GoldSpot, and we use their AI technology to help us out on exploration targets. We've also done 2 drill programs. So we completed one a couple of years ago with some fantastic results. And we just recently completed our drill program a few months ago on the Bazooka. Now, we drilled just over 3,000 meters. All 13 of our drill holes actually hit gold. And we had some great results. So we had nearly 68 meters of 0.85 of a gram. So just under a gram per ton at nearly 70 meters, which is fantastic. We also had 7.5 meters at 3.6 grams, 6 meters at 2.1, and 10 meters of 2.15 grams. So, a small program which has really produced some good grades, which is fantastic. And basically the plan with this property is we're going to follow up on this. So we have over 10,000 meters of targets on the Bazooka property, high priority targets. We've now drilled around 3,300 of that. So we've got around 7,000 meters to go. Now, on this property, we have some tremendous historical results. So we have 77 grams at nearly 6 meters, 7.7 grams over 20 meters, 25 grams over 7.5 meters, 1.14 grams over 72 meters, and 2.3 grams over 42 meters. Then you can add in, obviously, the nearly 70-meter hit that we just recently got over a gram. So what you're seeing is some really, really high-grade stuff, and then, obviously, your bulk tonnage corridor. So, the Bazooka is shaping up quite nice. We're fully permitted for the ongoing drill program. Like I said, we've got over 7,000 meters of targets still going on that property, and we're hoping to get back to that quite soon. We jump over to the Arrowhead property. So the Arrowhead property is our other flagship property. We are completely surrounded by Agnico Eagle. We're actually right next to their LaRonde mine, which is their premier mine for Agnico. It's their number 1 gold mine, and it's one of the largest on Earth. We're also next to IAMGOLD, who has the Mushu mine. So again, next to the Arrowhead, we have 7 active mines within 10 kilometers. So I mentioned that so you can see the prestigiousness of this region. It's very high grade, a lot of mines, and, we're in the right area. Now, again, what's exciting is we have road, power, and water to this property. And also we put our guys in the town of Rwanda. So it's the same story as the Bazooka. You can drive to work. It's a 15-minute drive. The guys can do their 12-hour shift and then get home to see their families at the end of the night. So that keeps our drilling costs very low, exploration low, and obviously we don't have to build camps, which keeps that quite low. Now, we've done a wealth of exploration work on the Arrowhead property. Very similar to the Bazooka. We've done downhole geophysics, airborne geophysics, IP. We've walked the ground, and we've done a drill program on the Arrowhead property. And that drill program came back with some great results. We had like 3.5 meters at 18 grams, 3.5 meters at 12 grams. So some really, really high grade. So very fantastic considering it was our first drill program on the property. What we've also done, which is quite exciting. So we have Agnico Eagle doing a drill program on the southern tip of our property. So we wanted to explore a little bit more of what they're doing. So we decided to do a seismic survey straight down the center of our property. And this is where it gets really exciting for us. So we know that Agnico is drilling 1,000-meter holes right on our border, and we're curious to know why. So we've done our seismic survey, and what we can see is quite remarkable. We have a structure at around 300 meters, a structure around 500 meters, and a structure around 1,000 meters. The reason this is quite important is because the LaRonde mine right next door was discovered at 300 meters, then expanded to around 500 meters with over 1 million ounces, and it is now down over 1 kilometer. So what we're seeing from one of the biggest mines on earth is very similar geology to what we have on the Arrowhead project. We're fully permitted now for this project. So we can drill anytime we're ready to go. We have over 10,000 meters of high priority drill targets. We have great Indigenous relations in this region as well. So that makes things a lot easier for us. The government of Quebec is very pro-mining, and especially the town of Rwanda. Now, this town was basically created on mining. So, we try and hire local. We get local drilling companies, local exploration teams, so we can create sort of that job network in that town, and it keeps obviously the people on side, which is very important. You want to hire local to do the work in that region. So basically, we've done a wealth of work on the Arrowhead property. We're in the right area. We have some major mines right next to us. We have road, power, and water, making access very easy. We've completed a drill program which had major success, proving there's some high-grade gold on this property. And we want to get back there as soon as possible. With over 10,000 meters of drill targets still to take place, we're very optimistic of the success that we could have on this property. Now we'll jump onto the McWaters property. Now, we haven't done a lot of work on this asset. Not to say it's not a fantastic asset. It's just we have so many good projects, we have to remain focused on what we can sort of achieve in the short term. And that is obviously the Bazooka and the Arrowhead project. But the McWaters property has also had some tremendous results. So, we've walked the ground, we've done some airborne, and it's had some historic drilling. So, the airborne come up pretty special, showed some fantastic structures and some targeting that we need to look at. Then, historically, it's had 5 drill holes on that property. One of them came back at nearly 8 grams over 3 meters. So, what we're seeing is the Bazooka, we've got over 7 kilometers of the Cadillac-Larder fault zone. We've explored less than 1 kilometer. So we've still got 90-odd% of that property to explore. The McWaters, we've only done minimal amount of work, but we had known previously that it's got some really good drill numbers on it. So it just needs a little bit more work, and then this property is ready to be drilled also. The Arrowhead project, we've done tremendous amount of work, like I mentioned, airborne geophysics, downhole geophysics, seismic, and a drill program. We're fully permitted, ready to go on this one with over 10,000 meters of targets, and we're hoping to get back onto this property this year. So we're looking to complete a full drill program on the Arrowhead, and then obviously get stuck in to the Bazooka property. Both these both are major flagship properties, the Bazooka and the Arrowhead. Both have been historically mined back in the day, and they averaged over 10 grams per ton, which is pretty fantastic for this region. So, we're going to try and get back on these properties as soon as possible, get back to the drilling, and go to work. Now, also a few other things to note is I'm personally the largest shareholder in Opawica. I've purchased over $1 million worth of stock over the last few years, all steady filed, so anyone can go have a look at that. I've actually never sold a share. So, I mentioned that because it shows my commitment to the company. I fully believe in what we have here, and I'm willing to put my money to show that. On top of that, we recently won the Canadian Gold Explorer of the Year for 2025 from the Metal and Minings magazine. So, that's fantastic to show a bit of recognition of all the hard work that we've been doing. We have an absolutely fantastic share structure. We have less than 40 million shares out. We have previously people like Eric Sprott have put in over $2 million. We have a lot of the big guys over at Canaccord, Haywoods, Lee Jones Gable. So, a fantastic shareholder base. We last raised money in November and December. We raised over $2 million, and that was done at 25 cents. So, you can see if you look at the chart and the share price down, we have come back down a little bit since that raise. But you can see, if we're raising money at that sort of high, that Opawica, it's got a good chance. People believe in this company just like I do. We've done the hard work. Basically, all we need now is more drill holes in the ground. And that's what we're looking to do as soon as possible. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn it over to some questions, and I'll fill you in a little bit more in regards to the properties as we answer some of these questions. So, Nicole, I'm not sure if you have some questions for me, and we can start getting stuck into that.
Yeah, I certainly do. Great overview so far. I was obviously doing research, looking up the company, and you've said the term right rocks, right neighborhood a few times. Can you expand on how being adjacent to major players like Agnico, like Yamana, are actually de-risking your exploration?
So, the area is proven. So that's what we have. So, based on the mines next door that we're in the right area. Based on geology of the active mines, and then you can look at what we have and you can see that we have the same geology. Then infrastructure is very important. So, the Opawica is not looking to turn into a mining company. What we're looking to do is create a resource, sell it to these active mines that are in the area. Like I mentioned, there's 7 of them, and then they can put our ounces through their mills that are already established, their roadways, their infrastructure is already there. So what we're looking to do is build up our properties, get a good resource, and then look to these majors to be bought out. Not only that is we are progressing. We do have multiple NDAs with majors in our area. The latest drill results obviously spark that again. So the conversations are being had with majors in these regions. Now, we just brought up the Bazooka property map. This is a great example of what we've been doing and where we've been drilling. So you can see here, we've only explored around 400 meters east to west and similar north to south. And if you look at some of these drill results, they're absolutely remarkable. 77 grams over 5.79 meters, 11 grams over 11 meters. These are just an example of what we have, and it's just all full of high grade. Now, we have 7 kilometers of this Cadillac-Larder fault zone. We've only explored around 1 kilometer. So if you flick to that next map, if we can show you that one. So this is what I'm trying to get across to our shareholders in the audience. So what the last map you just seen showed this little area to the east. What people don't understand is in the middle of our property, a couple of kilometers away, we also have some absolute fantastic drill results. So, 11 grams at 3.5 meters, 15 grams at 3 meters, nearly 8 grams at 14 meters, 12 grams at 1.5 meters. So we've got 7 kilometers of this Cadillac-Larder fault zone. Now, you mentioned before about the region and why it's important. Well, what you find is people that hold a large, sort of size of this fault area, what they've got is many deposits, and they've joined them up to create multi-million ounce deposits. And that's exactly what we're going for here. We've already got this large high grade zone on the east, which is already producing quite a nice resource numbers, even though we haven't got dove into it, we've got a rough estimate. Then if you jump around into the center, you can see some fantastic high grade here. What we plan to do is we plan to continue drilling down this fault zone from either the west to the east or east to west and joining up these zones. We are very confident that we can start combining these areas. And if we can, we'll be very similar to what you're seeing in these areas, 1 million, 2 million ounces. So that's the sort of goal that we've got going. And that's why the area is very important.
So while we're looking at these maps here, roughly 80% of the Bazooka property remains untested. So correct. What are our plans to get there? What's exciting you most about the project?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned before, we've still got over 7,000 meters of targets in this eastern zone. And we're starting to now look at doing some drill targeting through this fault zone. Based on a lot of the geophysics work that we have, we can see that we have structure that runs across the whole fault zone. Right. So basically what we're looking to do is just get some drills into it. Basically that's all we need to do now. All the sort of geophysical and exploration work is completed. It's now time for bulk drilling. Whether that's 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 meters, that's what we need to get stuck into to really drill this up and hopefully get a couple of million ounces out of the area.
Right. And historically, a lot of the zones were having more nuggety hits at Bazooka. We're moving more into broader zones, like you had just said. What's the significance of that?
Yeah, look, bulk tonnage is great. So we already have really high grade, and that's fantastic. But we're looking for all the rocks, obviously, to hold gold. So you don't want to have high grade zones and then have dead areas. And the thing we have is we don't have that. We have some really, really good bulk tonnage. What you're seeing in the area, you can have hybrid models. So it doesn't have to be underground. You can have your open pit, underground hybrid model. And that's sort of what would work well here. But then another thing is just north to what we're looking at this property here is the Wasamac. So if we can build up the ounces, it's a very simple process for a major right north to us to basically get hold of this property or do some sort of deal, and then they can pull the ounces out the ground and run it through their mill. The Wasamac is currently in the process of going through its mining permits, and I'm pretty sure that is a open pit underground hybrid model. So exactly what we're looking. So bulk tonnage, get your ounces up, obviously, add that with the high grade, and now we're talking quite a large deposit.
So it could be bulk tonnage and high grade pockets evolving at the same time.
Exactly. So if you're looking at some of the high grade stuff, for example, 15 meters at 7 grams, you mix that obviously with 100 meters at, let's say, a gram or so, and then now you're sort of sitting at that 3 or 4 gram sort of mark. So it's a good way to obviously get your ounces up, but the high grade sort of keeps that grade really nice. And that's what we've got on the property.
Okay. So I do want to talk about Bazooka and Arrowhead. You mentioned they both are advancing. Great stuff is happening. How are you currently deciding where to allocate capital and resources between the two priorities?
It's tricky because, both properties are very, very exciting. So we've taken it step by step. So when I first took over, we went out, we did the geophysics on the Bazooka, we went through that drill program. Then we went to the Arrowhead, we did the geophysics, we went to that drill program. Now we're back to the Bazooka. So we're sort of methodically going through each one of them, and we're keeping them at sort of that same level. Geophysics drilling, and then the Arrowhead geophysics drilling. So we see them as a very similar property, and we want to progress them both as we can at the same time. That's what we're looking to do.
Okay. And I mean, you just mentioned your geophysics. So you have mentioned many times, if anyone's reading your press releases, they're going to see it as well. You're vocal about using AI, about your geophysics, about advanced 3D modeling. From your perspective, how is using technology actually changing the odds of making a discovery?
Well, it helps with man hours a lot. So, AI can obviously do what a man can do in a split second, pretty much. So because these properties have been around for such a long time, we've spent over $7 million on these properties alone ourselves. There is a lot of data. So we're talking historical, and then obviously the work that we've been done. But where we find the AI really exciting is we can grab data from the 7 or 8 active mines in our area, and we can run that through AI. then we can put our data through the same AI machine. And what we're seeing is a big correlation. We've got the same rocks, the same basically geophysics, the geology is the same. So that's where AI is helping us. It's pointing us in the correct direction. And then we can use our human people, obviously, to focus in on sort of that direction. So we're really enjoying AI. We don't rely on it, but we love it as an extra tool.
Well, speaking of your human relationships, you have partners with groups, ALS Gold Spot being one of them. How important are these external groups to keeping your exploration efficient and cost effective?
Oh, they're fantastic. So they give us that extra layer, and that's what we want. So, we try and stick with drilling companies in the region and obviously that are familiar with the area. Gold Spot obviously have had tremendous results with multiple of their companies, and obviously their AI is fantastic. So, it's those sort of relationships are quite important for progressing the company as that extra layer. So, you've got your own team, then you add some extra eyes on the side, gives you a different perspective, gives you different sort of, a way of progressing forward.
Right. I do want to shine a little bit of light on McWaters. I know it's not the priority in your portfolio, but we don't want to forget about it. It is still early stage, but is near a past producer, like you've mentioned. What role do you see this property playing in your overall portfolio? Some have called it a wild card, could go either way. How are you viewing it?
Look, we absolutely love the property, but like I mentioned before, the other two properties we have are a lot further advanced. That's why we're sort of progressing them. As we move across the next 12 to 18 months, we're definitely going to start to look at the McWaters property. We are doing some mapping currently, and we are looking to get some drill targets on that property. But again, you have to be cautious of where you're spending your money. So we'll slowly build up the McWaters property. And then look to do a drill program further down the track. But also, we would look at a joint venture, a buyout, and those sort of other opportunities if they arrive. We can't focus on 3 properties at once. We're happy to sort of go with the 2 and sort of build up the McWaters. But it's a great property. Again, it's in the right area. It's on the fault. The geophysics look great. The few drill holes it has on there are phenomenal. So it's definitely worth getting back on the property and getting some progression work happening.
Okay. I mean, as you're looking to progress all 3 of the properties down the line, you're going to need to make sure your balance sheet's in check and that you have a strong treasury. You mentioned raising over $3 million heading into 2025. We're now halfway through the year. How aggressively, what cash position are you holding, and how does that influence how aggressively you can explore through the end of the year?
Yeah, look, cash position is not too bad at the moment. We spent obviously over $1 million on our last program. So, we're doing fine in that regard. I will say to do the drill programs that I am looking to do, I will most likely eventually have to go back out into the market and speak to some of our old shareholders and obviously, fund the company. But going forward, we're in a really good position. But I don't want to do any small drill programs. I'm looking to do a full 10,000 meters, and obviously, that costs capital. So what we've got is we've got IR in place that we recently signed a while ago. We're waiting for everyone to sort of come back from summer. We're going to start to get some news out. We're going to get some awareness programs happening just so people are aware of what we're doing. And then we're going to look to move towards future drill programs coming forth. So, we're in a good position, and it was only, $2 million we raised. So it wasn't 3 in December. Just thought I'd clarify that one. But look, we're sitting well. We've been doing the work, and we're going to continue doing work going forward. Obviously, we'd like to top things up as we progress. The share price isn't looking fantastic right now. So hopefully, a bit of awareness and obviously some news can turn things around, and we'll get back out to the market and look to do a big drill program.
And speaking of going into the market, you mentioned you are the largest shareholder, if not one of them. What is your share structure looking like outside of you? And how do you think that positions the company if you were to deliver a significant hold, that big news like you're mentioning?
Well, that's what's exciting with us. So we're not sitting here with 100 million shares out or 200 million. We've got 39 million shares out. You've got a CEO who's the number 1 shareholder. We've got old shareholders that came in a few years ago, people like Eric Sprott and a lot of the big brokers. So structurally wise, we're really, really good. And, what's exciting is if we do have that success, there's an opportunity for things to go really well based off this structure. Considering our market cap is, I think it's around $4 million at the moment. So, we've got a lot of good shareholders, a lot of institutional guys. We've got myself as the largest shareholder. So structurally and going forward, there's a lot of opportunity. That's definite.
Right. Is there, with the Gold Exploration Company of the Year award, I don't want to shine, that be the only highlight of this webinar, but it is a big acknowledgement for a company of your size. What does that recognition mean for your team, and how does it reflect what you folks have been doing on the ground?
Yeah, look, I like it for the recognition. So I think it was Frank Justra at West Red Lake Gold. They won it last year. And then obviously we picked it up this year based on all the work we've been doing. Now, it's an award, but what it's done, it's helped bring some awareness, obviously, to the company. The award shows a bit of recognition. It gets people looking into the company a bit more, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We have a fantastic story here. We've been able to raise a lot of money. We've been able to do a lot of work. We're just looking to get that story out, because I think the more ears we can get this across, the better it's going to be, obviously, for our shareholders and the company. I think we have all the ingredients of something special here. It's just about getting that voice out there now.
Do you have any other final thoughts as we round out the webinar and kind of start coming to a close? Anything else that you want investors, either current investors or prospecting investors, to know about the company?
Yeah, look, I'll just do a small recap. We've spent over $7 million, raised over $7 million since I took over. We've spent over $5-6 million on both our flagship properties. We've had some tremendous success. As you can see, we've got some absolutely fantastic drill numbers. We've got a CEO who's the number one shareholder. We're using AI technology. We're in one of the best areas in the world. We have road, power, and water. So all the elements line up. We have majors right next door, so we don't have to look for infrastructure. We're just looking to build up the ounces and be bought out. And that's what we're progressing with. We're drill permit ready on all our properties. We have great Indigenous relations. We have great town relations. We hire local. We've obviously won the Gold Exploration of the Year award. So we've done all the stuff, sort of to move towards that next phase in exploration mining. We're just ready now to do some large-scale drilling. We hope that people can come and check us out at www.opawica.com. You can give me a follow on LinkedIn. You can check out the company on LinkedIn. We're very active across social media. And, you just want to come and give us a follow and watch what we're doing, get an understanding of what we're trying to achieve, and then make the decision if this company is right for you. So, I definitely, will tell people, have a look at Opawica, check out our website, check out our socials, and, feel free to reach out to me. I'm a very easy man to get hold of.
Well, hopefully we do. And, for everyone who's joining us and anyone who's watching the replay, reach out to Blake and the company. He mentioned his website a second ago that you can go check that out. Again, the replay will be available shortly. You'll have it posted all across your socials. So please watch that. I guess that's it for today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining me today, Blake. Again, my name is Nicole. Everyone have a great evening.